A slowing business environment and uncertainties in the global economy are tempering expectations of the recovery in air travel after a difficult few years for the pandemic. Avril Hong is standing by live in Geneva after meeting with the head of the International Air Transport Association and hearing about the outlook for 2023.
That's right, Liz. We are hearing from IATA, and it sees losses for global carriers narrowing this year and that they could return to profitability in 2023. But it warns that the Asia-Pacific region is lagging, with China as a drag, as key questions remain about the country's exit from zero-COVID policy. Now, I spoke to the IATA chief, as you said, Willie Walsh, and he started by talking about when he sees a full recovery for what was once the world's largest and busiest domestic aviation market, China.
I think there's a long way to go. Like, if we look at it from the data that we have at IATA, international travel within Asia in October was 34% of where they were in 2019. Traffic between Europe and Asia is at about 41%. So we are seeing a little bit of an increase, but what we've witnessed through this crisis is while restrictions remain in place, it will deter a lot of people from travelling. So while it's possible for people to travel a little bit easier today, there are still quite a number of restrictions in place. And until those restrictions are removed, we don't see any prospect of getting back to 2019 levels of traffic.
So time-wise, when do you think that will be?
Well, I think your guess is as good as mine. You know, we have seen some positive signals coming out of China. We're not expecting any significant change in the first quarter, maybe the first half of 2023, but we're hopeful that in the second half of next year we will see traffic starting to return to more normal levels.
Looking long term, what are some of your concerns about China? Will it be able to expand capacity fast enough, given that Chinese airlines suffered heavy losses during the pandemic?
Yeah, I think there's still reason to be optimistic about growth out of China. Most airlines saw China as a strategic market where they were investing, recognizing that profitability was really at some stage in the future rather than immediate. It is a clearly exciting market from a growth point of view. But I think carriers, particularly European carriers, will be a little bit more cautious about expanding into China, given the damage that has been done to balance sheets and therefore their ability to operate parts of the network that might be structurally unprofitable in the short term. But China will remain an important strategic market. You know, in 2019, the Chinese domestic market represented almost 10% of all commercial travel. So it's a very important market for the global industry, and we expect that to continue going forward.
So which countries in the Asia-Pacific will lead growth in the interim?
Well, I think there are a lot of opportunities, and we've certainly seen hubs like Singapore look to take advantage of the disruption in other parts of the market there. You look at the Hong Kong hub, severely restricted as a result of travel measures there, and Singapore has seen a strong recovery, and we expect that to continue. Now, China, a very important market for Singapore. From memory, I think Singapore Airlines operated to about 29 different destinations in China in 2019. So, you know, there's great interest in seeing China reopen from a Singapore point of view, but I think Singapore has clearly benefited most in the region from the recovery that we're witnessing.
We're also heading into a more uncertain business and consumer climate next year. Do you see that affecting demand at all?
We're not seeing any evidence of that at the moment. There's clear evidence of strong demand for travel. Now, how much of that is just a pent-up demand? People couldn't travel during the 2 years of lockdown and want to travel now. It's difficult to judge that. I think we still believe that the outlook for 2023 will be positive. Global economic growth is certainly slowing down. We don't see a recession in 2023 at a global level. I think some countries clearly will experience a recession, but the global industry, I think, has reason to be optimistic about the outcome for 2023. We're still in recovery mode. There's still a long way to go before we get back to the sort of levels of passenger traffic that we witnessed in 2019. So while there are challenges there, without question, high inflation, high oil prices, slowing economic growth, I think there's still scope for the industry to recover during 2023 and into 2024 as well.
Mr. Walsh also sees jet fuel costs remaining elevated next year, although they might ease a little from the levels that we've been seeing for this year. Liz?
Yeah, April, so how will then, carriers balance the cost of SAF, which as it works towards net zero?
Right. Sustainable fuels remains many times more expensive than conventional fuels. But it's important to note here, Mr. Walsh says that this is a supply story, not a demand thing, because the carriers used every single last drop of sustainable fuels that has been available in the past few years. So he hopes that governments can continue incentivizing production, and that will help to bring more supply and, in turn, lower the cost of sustainable fuels.
Well, thanks for that, April. CNA's April Hong reporting live from Geneva.